The life of a Nigerian woman is not an easy one. She faces financial, biological, and social inconveniences. These social inconveniences often come in the form of physical and sexual assault. As a writer and journalist for Sikoko Citizen, who is very keen on covering gender rights, I came across a type of sexual assault called breast ironing during my research. Breast ironing is a form of female genital mutilation where a young girl's breasts, mostly from ages 8 to 15, are flattened to delay their development, literally ironing someone's breasts. As the writer of this project, when I first heard about breast ironing, I was just looking up the sites, thinking of the next article to write as a journalist, and I just saw breast ironing, and it really, really captured my attention. And I tried to find out more on the process. And the more I got to find, the more I researched, the more I was just so angry. Why is it that you call yourself a parent, you call yourself a mother or a father, and you can allow things like pistols, you can allow things like even hammers? I saw hammers, bandages, and all whatnot being applied and pounded to the breast of your child.
It's horrible.
That's disgusting.
Oh, I feel so weird imagining it, but basically, they try to suppress a woman's breast growth.
Doesn't make sense at all. It sounds unreasonable.
Actually, it is. I don't know. I feel it's or it's a way to tell women that you don't like them.
It sounds wicked even because I feel like you're just causing these girls unnecessary pain. So
I think it's one of the worst things that, people do. Like, there are many things that people, many horrible things that people do to women and young girls, but that's honestly one of the worst things.
As a woman, I could feel the pains of the irons, mortar, pestle, and other tools pounding away at a little girl's breasts for days and even weeks. There and then, I just knew that I needed to bring light to this issue. Immediately after the story was published, we had over 300 comments on the Citizen Instagram page of women who brutally had their breasts ironed at a young age. Some didn't even know that their breasts had been ironed until they read the article. I decided to reach out to 2 of these women to tell their stories.
And how old were you when this happened?
Okay, I think I was, say 14, 15, thereabout, because I know I was in secondary school then.
Oh, right, okay.
I was in secondary school, I think in my junior classes. Yeah, I think 14, 15, maybe around when I was in GS3, thereabout.
Can you go into details of the act? Can you give a step-by-step example of how she did it, what happened on that day that she just decided that, oh, I must iron someone's breast? What exactly happened that day?
Okay. Basically, she used pistol.
Okay.
Mortar and pistol. She used the pistol. So she got me to take off my dress and stand, and she used the pistol to how do I put it? When you have fresh pepper inside the mortar, the way you pound on it, it's not really hitting on it like this, but you massage it in such a way so it doesn't splash back. So she was just using it like that and adding pressure. She was just using pressure to press on my boob.
How many days or weeks did this happen? Or was it just for that day?
A week. No, not that day. Not just that day. What she does, if she does it today, she did it at first, she did it for the first 3 days, and then she now left a day in between, and then did another 2 days, left. So if I have to sum up the days, it's a week.
Okay, and did this actually work? Did it reduce your breasts and all of that?
Oh, well, I wouldn't know, but I'm not busting.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I was going to be busty, but then I'm not busty right now. Even after I have a baby right now, and my boobs is not all over the place. Yeah. So
And you don't have issues with like breastfeeding and stuff like that as a result of what she did earlier?
no, I didn't have any issues breastfeeding my baby. Just that it's just usual for babies to just prefer one breast to the other. So he prefers my left breast to my right breast. And I think that when she was doing this stuff, I felt more pain in my right breast than in my left breast.
Okay. So this that has happened, is it something that you would blame your mom for? Is this something that you are angry with your mom for, or you say she did the right thing? How do you feel after all of that?
It's not something that I hate her for. What I'm saying is that I think I understand why she did it. So it's not something I hate her for. I'll be like, I'm never going to forgive you because I have a baby now and I will do anything to protect him. So I understand.
For Betty, when she was 10, her mother felt that her breasts were developing too rapidly for her age. So one day she got an amala spoon, heated it up in a fire, and used it to press her breasts repeatedly for a week. This left her with severe pain, and she felt a sense of low self-esteem for a very long time. Now, Betty is in the university, but she still feels a sort of animosity towards her mother. She says that she personally loves her mom, but may never forgive her for what she did. After this, I contacted award-winning documentary filmmaker and human rights activist Giselle Portenier for her professional opinion.
So would you say that this breast ironing has any physical implications or has any health implications from your research, right? Or has any mental implications?
Well, I think breast ironing is very similar to female genital mutilation in the sense that it's a violence against the body without the consent of the girl or the person involved. And the effects, just like female genital mutilation, are numerous. First of all, there is a mental trauma, the mental violence that's done to the girl. Then there are other, of course, results. Often the breast even disappears. And how traumatic is that, both physically and emotionally, for the girl? There's risks of infection. Cancer is an issue, and so on and so forth. And we're talking about millions of girls. The UN, I believe, thinks that as many as 3.8 million girls worldwide are affected. And it's not just, of course, in Nigeria, but it's in many, many other countries. It's hugely underreported, and I think we need to change that.
How exactly do you think girls that have gone through this type of traumatic experience, how can they live a normal life? How can they, fight the medical implications of this? How can they get back on their feet?
I think that's, how severe the effects of the breast ironing are is what affects girls, right? So if it's a very severe form of breast ironing, which makes the breast disappear or results in abscesses or infections and so on, obviously proper medical care, I think, is very helpful. I also think that girls need possibly intervention through a psychologist or a counselor to try and get them to accept themselves the way they are, because all these things for girls can be extremely damaging psychologically. To me, the real tragedy here is that women around the world are still seen as the property of men. And breast ironing, female genital mutilation, and other such violence is committed against girls to control them sexually. And that's what we need to change. We need to change this idea that girls and women are the property of men. Women need to have full and proper equality in every part of their lives, including, of course, fulfilling themselves sexually. We now know that female genital mutilation is a reality in 92 countries and counting. a recent Equality Now report indicates that female genital mutilation is happening on every continent except Antarctica. It's happening in places that most people would not expect it to happen, like South America. It's a reality in the Ambera tribe in Colombia. It's also happening in Indonesia, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Russia, and of course, other parts of the Middle East and Africa. Most people think female genital mutilation is something that happens over there in Africa, but it's not true. It's actually happening all over the world. And of course, I'm not sure if you're aware, but of course, we also know that female genital mutilation has happened in the West among white people. So it was actually recommended by Sigmund Freud, the psychoanalyst, as a cure for epilepsy and what he called excessive masturbation and so on. And we know that even today, there are survivors, Caucasian survivors from fundamentalist Christian communities in the United States. And we know and believe that it may still be happening because the two women, one of the women has come out as a survivor is in her 40s. And she says she has a friend who's told her she's done to her own daughters. So we're really talking about possibly currently today, female genital mutilation being a reality and happening in the United States.
To get a second opinion on the matter, I then reached out to a senior project officer at ARDA Development Communications, Ms. Tawa Khalid Karim, for her input.
How can we get breast ironing to be criminalized according to law, especially in Nigeria? And how can we get preventive measures to be taken in society?
So, I work in GBV. I've been working in GBV for the past, 5 years. And what I can say is that criminalization of a particular act is just half of the solution. In and of itself, it doesn't work, right? Because, we're literally just speaking now and saying that there's a dearth of data about this practice. When you criminalize without accompanying measures, it just means that people will go underground, right? So we won't hear about these things again. I will say, oh, thank God, it's not happening. It is happening. Communities are just keeping it to themselves. So before we even leverage legal instruments and framework, as far as I'm concerned, the very first thing, the way that we get to target this is the community approach, which is what has been done in the case of genital mutilation, So when you think about breast ironing as a practice, who are the people who carry it out? It's usually mothers, female relatives of the girl. So the mothers, the aunts, grandmother, caretaker. But in some certain instances, there are women whose jobs are literally to iron the breast. So some sort of traditional midwives whose job is actually to iron the breast. So in the case like that, it's not just about what they believe, it's also a source of income, right? So in order to target this practice, we have to support these women to get an alternative source of income. Because for some of them, it's a practice that has been handed down over generations, So there are certain families in Yoruba land, for example, who give tribal marks, the Ololas, right? So for breast ironing as a practice, it's also generational in certain cases. So first of all, those women have to be supported to get an alternative source of income, right? We have to, because in a lot of those communities, while the women are the enforcers, the people who hold the pillars that ensure that these practices are being continued over generations are actually the men, right?
Yeah.
The very foundation of breast ironing is that you're trying to make girls not sexually attractive, right? So in some skewed way, these women think that they are protecting these girls, because the breast has been made sort of central to what it means to be a woman. So as soon as a girl starts, at least outwardly, a lot of the other changes are internal. But as soon as a girl starts showing breasts, she's beginning to be seen as an adult, So these women are thinking that, if men begin to see her as an adult, then she's at risk of being raped, of being abused. Bride napping is a thing in Africa, in Nigeria, in this Lagos. Bride napping is a thing in certain communities where girls are kidnapped and they are forcefully married. So in some way, these women think that they are protecting these girls, even from child marriage. Some mothers know that once their girl child gets to a certain age, in addition to starting her menstruation, once she begins to grow breast, then her father is set to marry her off. So they think that, you know what, I don't want my daughter married off at this age. What can I do? I also can't tell her father no. So what can I do to protect her? Or I can bind her breasts together, and make sure that she's still seen as a girl. So in some skewed ways that they think that they are protecting these children, So we also have to start with the wrong knowledge that they have. If you ask them about breast ironing, they will give you all of the right reasons why they're doing it. So it's important to educate them on why those reasons are actually the wrong reasons, treating girls' bodies as a crime scene, making them responsible for the actions or inactions of adult males. So passing across this right knowledge to show them that, you know what, we need to take the conversation from another angle. Instead of making girls responsible for what adults do, how about we hold these adults responsible for the crimes that they commit, Because in none of those conversations, you're trying to protect the girl, but you're doing it by causing her more pain. And in all of this conversation, there's nobody saying that, oh, what happens to the person who is raping a child because she has visible breasts? Do you see?
Yeah.
So it is important that we educate communities. So if we increase the tempo of the conversation around breast ironing and we make it part of national discourse, then perhaps we get to a place in Nigeria where a specific legal instrument can be enacted for breast ironing that outlines how survivors are supported, how perpetrators are brought to book, and what should be done and where it should be done. But as it is right now, I know that sexual assault referral centers in Nigeria respond to cases of gender-based violence. A lot of them work with rape survivors, but I know that they will not turn away a survivor of breast ironing if such person needs support in terms of professional counseling and mental health support.
Despite having the 2015 Violence Against Persons Act, breast ironing is still on the rise and is as dangerous as ever.
And I'd like to say, why is it that men or boys are not castrated as children, right? Why does it feel that the entirety of being not promiscuous is being put on the woman? I don't know. It necessarily doesn't actually make sense, because for that, I mean, not just even breast ironing, I mean, this is body mutilation, right? We can't control how our bodies grow. I think that every single person or every single lady wants a particular type of body shape, but the truth is that women come in different shapes and sizes, and I think that is the beauty of it all.
It makes no sense. First of all, for one reason, people do it to keep the girl in check morally, right? So that she does not become sexually active, to control how sexually active she can be. You don't do that. The only thing you do to her by mutilating her breasts like that is only affect her self-esteem. You only make her hate herself as a woman. You only make her, see herself as not as a human being with like actual rights, who deserves anything good, but you make her see that I think she's actually an object, just a thing, like not a human. Because it can't make her. If anything, it might make her indulge in perverse sexual behaviors, because it fucks up the mind mentally, right? Number two, also, they do it so that men will stay away from the girls. Men will sleep with anything. They will sleep with dead bodies, sleep with women that are covered, that are covered completely. So you can't make her less attracted to men, because like the men will still do whatever they want to do to any men. Sleep, they will still abuse the woman because she's a woman. So you aren't really solving anything in that particular way either.
I'm trying not to be too. I think about it. It's a little abstract in my mind, but it's really, I can't imagine how horrific it must feel for anyone who has had to go through that.
But I know that in Nigeria, police, it's not really. So I'll just try to convince her that it doesn't make sense anymore. So there's no need for her to cause her daughter unnecessary pain.
If you have ever experienced this, or you know a little girl who does, be your sister's keeper. Contact the National Council of Women's Societies, NCWS, at +234 8139 75 0698 or email ncwsnigeria@gmail.com. You can also contact the Lagos Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, Lagos DSVA, on 0800 033 3333. In the words of Steve Maraboli, a kind gesture can reach a wound that only compassion can heal. Thank you, and please stay safe.